Hey TV fans, Bored Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be reviewing Yellowjackets Season 1 Episode 1, just called the pilot this one. Full spoilers from Showtime hit, which is returning soon for a second season, which I will also be covering on the channel. Yellowjackets is a funny case for me. I really enjoyed the first season. A lot of it really spoke to me, a lot of the nostalgia of it. I think the punky style, like the strong, like rebellious female characters, black humour, which you can see in this first episode as well, stood out. But it was a bit of a slow burn. Like, it takes really a few episodes to really get going for me. So because of that, it's probably one of these things where having more seasons will benefit it, because the deeper you get into the characters, the deeper you get into the mythology, then in theory it should only improve, and hopefully the showrunners have got a plan for all that stuff. So It's a good first season from memory. This is obviously a rewatch and a lot to enjoy, but as I said, it was a little bit of a slow burn. And one of the things I'll say is probably a lot of the drama with the teenage characters in the past, in the 90s, which half of the show is set in, then that stuff worked better than some of the adult stuff, at least. And it focuses on the main mystery with the adults. That's when it's a bit more interesting and a bit more engaging. This is a fantastic cast. A girls' soccer team called the Yellowjackets, who are about to go to the finals, so they're on the eve of the biggest game of their career. They've had a really successful season. And the first episode sets up their characters like the night before, flying out for the big match. And on the way, the plane crashes, a bunch of people are killed, and the ones who remains, you get a Lost style scenario where they have to work together, band together, and survive until, in theory, help comes along and they're rescued. So they literally, it's almost like a bit like Lord of the Flies, except with girls this time. Flicks back and forth between the 90s, 2021, which is the present, where like the survivors, the main characters of the show, all receive this mysterious postcard. It hints that someone knows their secret and is like threatening them. So that becomes the mystery of season 1, them trying to get to the bottom of it. Shona is like a bored sort of housewife who is having a little bit of a rocky marriage, and we learn over the course of the season, quite early I think, that then her husband Jeff was boyfriend of Jackie, who was her best friend, and they were both in the soccer team. The Shona was actually having a thing with Jeff behind Jackie's back. Marriage, they're trying to spice things up. As I said, Shona's very bored, looking for a bit of relief. You've got Taisha, who's a politician running for office in the current storyline, and she's actually the one who in present day is like the most successful. Natalie, who is like the punky one. Not surprisingly, you would have Juliette Lewis play the punky one of the group, and she's had like long running issues with addiction. And you've got Misty, as I said, the Ricci character, who is revealed at the very end of the episode is a nurse and has a bit of a, she has this underdog quality to her, where for much of the first episode you see her in the past scenes as like just a very awkward, like nerdy, just very timid character, and she is like very much the outcast who everyone takes for granted and picks on. But it's revealed at the very end of the episode where we see her in the present, and the way it cuts to her in the past engaging in a certain activity, a certain ritual, then there's probably going to be more to this character than meets the eye. And each episode focuses on a different character, like their plot is the main type focus. In enjoyable pilot, like I've got a couple of nitpicks. One is the scene early on with you've got Jackie sneaking around with another guy, and like Shona's waiting for her in the car to go to school. And that sex scene with Jackie and the other guy is a bit full on, a little bit in your face. It's got that like Showtime, we can do anything. Good music in the show, and like particularly like the use of the Smashing Pumpkins song is like really effective. Like that just sums up the era so well. But it probably suffers a little bit from just being that, okay, this is the 90s type thing, and we're gonna like hit you with all these different songs that were around and popular in the 90s. That's just one of those things, especially since there's a lot of shows now doing that type thing where it's all about nostalgia, it's all about having this big like 90s style soundtrack. So it's not necessarily a fault of this show. It's just it's been done so many times in the last sort of 10 years that it maybe suffers a little bit. The adult stuff in the early episodes is a bit hit and miss, especially from Shona. Like her situation with her husband at times feels a bit soapy, but I did enjoy it in this episode. She's the one who, like, the episode focuses on more. Linsky, a really good actress, but she does comedy really well. She has some really good, like, deadpan delivery in this opening episode. But yeah, she just knows how to bring it. I really enjoy the delivery of the line where she tells, like, the nosy reporter, the journalist, like, yeah, you don't know the first thing about my life. You go fuck yourself, basically. Like, the delivery of that line, like, she really gets across just how desperate this character is to keep things under wraps. She gets this postcard and is paranoid, and she contacts Taisha, who, that's one of the reveals, and they actually have like pretty regular contact. And the list is like interviewing people. Taisha, one of the early scenes is her being interviewed on TV, and she says that she hasn't like spoken to any of them in years, and like Shona says pretty much the same to the journalist over the phone before telling her where to go. And so that's something where they've all agreed on this as sort of like a front. They've all agreed not to speak about it and just leave things in the past. And you get some good subversions in the first episode, some good, like, it plays with the dynamics. So Shona and Jackie have a really good, like, vibe and chemistry. They really gel very well, and they feel like natural best friends. And I like how they subvert those characters, because, for example, it turns out there's a little bit more to Shona than just being the shy, like, awkward gal, the more, like, reserved one. Because, as I said, it turns out she's having a thing with Jeff, which Jackie doesn't know about. And Jackie, likewise, there's something a bit different to her, because at first she just seems like the more in-your-face, rebellious one. But actually, she's shown throughout the episode to have a bit more to her than just that. I like how she is a very natural, like, team leader, and how in the scene at the party she brings them back together and she lays down the law. That's another thing that appeals about this show, is that it is showing, like, the soccer team, the Yellowjackets, as almost like a girl sort of gang, like a girl band almost. They have that sort of vibe, the way they spar off each other, how there is friction, but there's also this like camaraderie. And it's good also that these girls get to be like unlikable at times and complex, but also have layers and be likable at others as well, you know, like so many male characters get to have. And with these dynamics, because we see that in the present, like Taisha is this politician who has these big, like, lofty ambitions, but what the past shows is that in some ways Taisha is more the instigator, because you have this subplot where there's this new player, Hallie, who isn't going down well with certain girls, and they think that if she goes to the final with them, then she'll like maybe mess up and ruin their chances of winning. So, and like Taisha's in the bathroom early on with a couple of the other girls, like a few of, and they're like complaining about her. And there are like girls who are like coming to Hallie's defense, but Taisha's not going to be a problem. And at the time you don't realise what she's talking about, but later on it becomes clear because they have a practice match, and Taisha says to the coach, "I'll take her." Eventually crunches into her. She intentionally like cripples her, and this is like the first proper scene I think with Misty where she's trying too hard to like attend to Hallie and like screws it up. And we're starting to plant little seeds with Misty as this character who's always trying a bit too hard and like always screws up or always does the wrong thing, and people are like giving her heat over it, and that sets up some of the direction of her character. But yeah, once again we see a little bit of the Showtime edge in that scene where it's like a full on, like the bone is out the leg, it's really bloody, and it's an effective scene actually. Like it does make you wince. So we see this ruthless side to Taisha, how she, in some ways, you can see the political background a little bit. You can see how she could be this effective politician because she plays a very calm like game where she doesn't seem like a threat, but then she comes out of nowhere. It's just some friction at the party later on. And as I was saying, it's a nice contrast with Jackie, because Jackie actually does bring them together, and she does that very clever thing of getting them to say like one nice thing about each other. And there's certain things like there's the super religious one who everybody sort of mocks because they're not really religious, and that they sort of tease her for like taking her religion too seriously. But then, as I said, Jackie does a good job in bringing them all together. So I really enjoy pretty much everything with the girls in this first episode. There's some good black comedy too. Like I enjoy the opening of the episode where you've got like this journalist talking to different people from the time who knew the girls, and it's people from the school, and there is like sort of a blackly funny moment with like the headmaster or the principal, and where they're just saying like how well do you know the girl and the girls, and he says something like, "I definitely wouldn't say I know them that well," and it's just this awkward pause, and I got the impression that was a little bit of a gag where he would be, well, if he said he knew them too well, that would come off really creepy. And then you have a funny line from trigonometry teachers like, well, they sure didn't spend much time in trigonometry. They sure didn't care about that. Strong cast, like they really come to life. Like as soon as Juliette Lewis is on the screen, she just like lights it up with her energy, and it just feels like wonderful sort of casting. So yeah, really solid first episode with some promise to be like to move forward. I think another nice little turn with Natalie, the Juliette Lewis character, is then you have her going through therapy in the group, and it's this sort of cynical scene where like one of the girls in particular is like ranting and raving about her life, and it comes off as her like moaning for the sake of moaning, and Natalie's just there taking this all in to like unload and say something really awkward, but then she ends up by just saying that ever since she left the island that she's really struggled to find a purpose, but now thanks to coming to this group she's found a purpose. And the twist with that is then she's actually talking about she's going to go to California and she's going to track down the girls. Postcard she was sent, and she loads up a gun and you see her going to California. Because it's funny because she obviously has a drinking issue. It's like when she first gets in the taxi, she's talking about going straight to the bar, but then rethinks it and goes to the airport. Hey, the airport has a bar, so maybe she got something before going on the plane. But so there you have it. That was episode 1. As I said, solid is definitely the word. There's one or two moments I wasn't so keen on, but generally speaking, this was a good first episode and sets up some promising things. This is a rewatch, so I'll probably say like certain things didn't bother me as much on the rewatch, and it's always easier with a rewatch when you know where things are going, so certain things that stood out before as not being that great probably aren't such a big deal. Like second time around, we'll be reviewing all of season 1, and then when the new season starts in March, I'll be reviewing that also, and hopefully look out for some special guests as well in these reviews. That's something I'm hoping to line up. Rachel probably will join me for season 2 as well, but let me know your thoughts on the pilot of Yellowjackets in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. You can support me at patreon.com/boardnow for just $1 a month. But I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.